Welcome to Worriosity, where we unpack what makes you bite your nails and keeps you up at night.
We are two minds,
one spiral. Let's get to it.
Welcome to this episode of Worriosity, where we'll be talking about
kids. Specifically, when the kids leave for college, that whole empty nest syndrome. So that's definitely a new thing for me, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But first, I feel like we need to address the elephant in the room. If you're watching and not just listening to this podcast, you might notice that Caitlin looks a little bit different.
Yes, I've decided to go back to my natural brown. That's right, I'm a brunette. Now, I will say in this lighting, it's definitely catching a little bit of that blonde I left. You know, you can't go fully over immediately, but
I think it looks good. It looks natural, it looks healthy. I like it.
Thank you, me too. And you know, I made this change because of hair thinning, but that's going to have to be another episode because lots of worries come with that.
Yes, that's a completely different thing. But this time, we're going to talk about the kids. So, as you know from previous episodes, I am the mother of two children. I have a senior in college, and I have a freshman in college. So now we are officially, empty nesters.
Empty nesters. And a whole house to yourself.
Yes. And a lot of people act like that means that I'm deactivating as a person. So this is a little bit strange. I get the question a lot, and I'm sure others of you who have been in this situation have probably heard like, oh, you're going to have so much free time, and what are you going to do now? And the answer is quite a few things. I mean, I had a lot kind of going on. I think that was part of the problem is that I was super busy before with the kids around, and I'm still super busy. It's just sort of a different kind of thing. But you worry about your kids when they leave. I mean, this is the first time that you don't have kind of a say over what they're doing. And what I have noticed is when I get calls, I get texts, I get all the wonderful things from them. But then if I say like one little thing that they maybe don't like so much, it's like, oh, well, I got to go. And then it's, bye, Mom, I'm off to XYZ. And it's like, oh.
That independence came quickly, and they embraced it. They said, I'm an adult now. I can just hang up that phone.
Yeah. And it was kind of funny. It wasn't funny at the time for him, but my son, after his freshman year of college, he ended up in Morocco for a summer and was in a pickup game of soccer, and his phone got stolen. And there was a whole thing where he got a new phone, and he was fine, and everything was fine. But we asked when he got the new phone, oh, can you put Life 360 back on there? If obviously most people know what Life 360 is. If you don't, it's ways to kind of follow your family a little bit. We've always been very good where we're not really, searching to see where they
background. I will say that my sister didn't add Life 360 to her kids' phones until very late, and it wasn't necessarily to track wherever they were going.
It's all safety.
It was all safety because, a couple times, some of them were caught.
A little sneaking.
Yeah,
but it's okay. It's typical teenage behavior, right? So it was more of a safety issue for us. I was never, ever tracking where they were going, but we asked just for, again, safety purposes, because my son was going to be traveling around the world a lot during college, would you put it back? And he's like, oh, no. I mean, just basically like that. Now that I'm fully aware that was still happening, obviously not, I'm not putting that back on. So
I would like to say, though, that I'm actually on Life 360 with them so that we can track all of us, especially with travel and whatnot. So, it's kind of fun seeing where everyone is.
And that makes it nice. We're never paying attention to that. We want them to live their life and be independent. And I do think it's really wonderful, but it is really weird because, I'm go from, it was essentially 21 full years of you have this child and another child, and everything you're doing kind of revolves around them and their safety and making sure everybody's where they're supposed to be, and there's just a lot going on all the time. And then suddenly it's like, bye, and they are on their own, and they'll call you sometimes when they need you or need some money or whatever. And then now as they're getting more mature, they do call and check up and stuff, which is nice too. But it's just a different, unique experience, filled with a lot of anxiety. And I don't know, it's a period of adjustment. I mean, you kind of grew up with them almost as like a brother and sister. You're actually closer in age to my son than we are as siblings.
I know. It's kind of funny thinking about it, and it's also funny because even though obviously her daughter and son are hers, when I used to go out with them, people would stop me and say, "Oh, your son, your daughter," because we all actually look very similar. Especially her daughter, she looks like she could be mine. But it's always been a very close relationship between us, and it's interesting because you're talking about the worries of motherhood and being an empty nester and whatnot. It was weird how much worry I felt for them when they left as well, being somebody who doesn't have children but who grew up with them and was there through every stage of their life. It's kind of surreal seeing them go off. I know it's part of life, right? But I feel like I got a little bit of that experience without having to go through the whole experience.
Right. I don't think maybe you didn't weep as copiously as I did on certain days.
No, I definitely didn't weep as copiously, but I definitely enjoyed the time when they were here. So having them be gone is, we've actually talked about it. It's been a little strange, especially as her daughter left. I was like, wait, the house is so quiet. She's not just here. So it's been an adjustment.
Well, and the things you worry about, I have to say, and we'll have other episodes just talking about kids in general at different stages because they've thrown us all curveballs. I mean, you lived with us for a while, so you know some of the strange things that have happened with them for me to worry about. But this particular situation of you not knowing what's going on with them and hoping that they're making good decisions and that kind of stuff. But even if they are doing all the right things, accidents happen. And this has happened a number of times. And I find that now my daughter just started, so we haven't had as much experience with this yet. But I find my son likes to tell me about things really after the fact. He doesn't like to worry me until he has all the information, which I guess is a very adult way to handle things.
He definitely knows his mom. I mean, we have a whole podcast about worrying, so he's like, I can't give her something to talk about until I know it's okay.
Right. So what happened one time is, this was, I guess, his sophomore year, and I went up to pick him up. The way his school works is he could be on one term and then off another term to do like an internship or go abroad or something like that. So he was on one term and he was going to be off in that middle winter term. So we had to actually move him out of his dorm. And I drove up by myself because my husband had been in a cycling accident and couldn't drive or lift things himself. And so,
again, another episode.
I mean, my family is very outdoorsy and they love to do things where they can get injured a lot. And sometimes they do get injured a lot. We have a good friend that's actually an orthopedic surgeon who has operated on we have like a punch card with him, basically. So he's our team doctor, he likes to say. But I drive this beautiful journey up into the Northeast by myself. The weather's been gorgeous. I get up there, I text my son and I say, hey, I'm staying with a friend, but do you want me to stop in and have some coffee? We can meet for coffee before I head over there. And, because we had plans kind of the next day where I was going to take him and his friends out. And he's like, oh, yeah. That's all he says. Yeah, let's meet for coffee. That sounds good. And when I arrive, I park, and I'm standing at the corner of this very busy intersection where the students are all waiting for the light to turn, and I see him sort of diagonally from me, and he's got these huge black sunglasses on, like Jackie O, big, huge sunglasses on. And I'm like, oh, that's a look. There's a choice that he made with that look. That was a sunny day. He's in college. He likes to thrift. He, who knows what he's going to be wearing.
He's got great fashion sense.
Great fashion sense.
He's not willing to, he's not afraid to,
Yeah. So I was like, all right. He gets across the street to me, and his face is completely torn up. Like he's this huge scrape all the way down. He takes his glasses off, and everything is just a mess. And I'm like, oh my God, what happened? And he had been in, are you ready? A cycling accident the night before, and had a severe concussion and had been in the hospital the night before. And I was like, okay. So he had not told me about this. And I said, why, please, you always call me in these sort of situations. And he's like, there was nothing you can do. And I knew you had to drive up alone today. And I didn't want you to be really worried and stressed while you were driving up. He's like, I'm okay, I'm alive, but I do have a bad concussion. And I do, it was bad to the point where he couldn't, this was the end of the term. He was doing all these finals. He had this like computer science class where he had to do like digital work for his final. Oh my goodness, film class, like all these things where he would have to be on his computer, and he couldn't do any of it because of this concussion. So that was really stressful. And so we had to spend the next few days together kind of trying to work all of that out. What I thought was going to be the quick trip up, move him out, come on back home, ended up being about 5 days of trying to work all of the details out to get him to be able to successfully end his term, and then come home and heal and try to get better. And it was over a month for him to feel better from that. So that was pretty rough. And his freshman year, also a mountain biking accident where he broke his collarbone.
Right. So if you're
I would randomly get like hospital bills.
Yeah. If you're not picking up, if you're not picking up on it, there's a lot of injuries that happen. But I think the thing to really focus on here is that now that they're not in the house, right? Like now that they're not living here, and now that they're in college, they're working through what they, who they're becoming as adults and whatnot. They have that freedom to kind of inform you the way that they want to inform you and when they want to inform you. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. Like it feels like a bad thing, right, for you, because as their parent, you want to have the information, you want to be able to support them.
Yeah.
But it is super mature of him knowing that you were like driving up and you were coming to pick him up. Safety first. I'll show you, I'll tell you when we're together, and then we can address it together, because he knew that one, there's nothing you could do, and two, that he was predominantly safe at that point. Like
Right.
He had already experienced the trauma of the fall. He had already gone to the doctor, which was great. Not all kids, or I say kids, but young adults go and address those things. So you definitely taught him right, but I can understand like that can cause its own worry. Like you used to be worried about what would happen in your care. Now it's this new worry where you're like, oh my gosh.
Do they know what to do?
Do they know what to do? What's going to happen if I'm not there? And I mean, I think we all kind of feel a little bit of that, whether it's with our children or with siblings, or sometimes even with like really, really close friends. I have some friends that moved away, and I feel like we used to talk about the things that were ailing them and the things that were, making them struggle. And now it's like, we don't really get to do that as much. So like, how do we address that worry on our end on the day-to-day without letting it totally consume us, knowing that there's really nothing we can do about it?
I know. And I sort of live my life, my adult life. I feel like I've just become such a problem solver. Like that feels like that has to be part of my identity, because when you are working with your family and stuff like that, it's like there's every day feels like there are all these different issues that get thrown at you. So it's like, okay, take a deep breath. How can I solve this? Figure this out. Move on to the next thing. That becomes sort of the go-to mindset. And when something like that happens, and I find out about it when they were, living in the house, I immediately knew what to do or who to call or what, who to ask.
You leapt into action.
Just right away. And so then to be kind of having to help them from afar, like there have been a couple times when one or both of them has called and they have a concern or they have a question, or even just like a really bad cold, like what do I take? What do I do? And I would have been the one to be like, I'll make you some soup and we'll do all this sort of stuff, right? But now it's up to them to kind of figure it out, and I can give them advice, but it is definitely strange to do that from afar and a little nerve-wracking, because you just hope that they will. That's the thing. We all did. We all figured it out, and, it's going to be okay. It's just such a weird thing to go through that I am adjusting, but it is an adjustment. I can put it that way.
Well, I mean, two things. There's always Uber Eats. So, if you want to send your kids some soup, I'm sure they would not say no. Shout out from them if you agree. But also, I think you've done a lot of these things throughout their life, right? And sure, that first moment when they have to do it themselves, it can be like, what do I do? What do I do? But they're going to like think through their life, and they're going to remember that you suggested this, you gave them that, you helped them with this, and at the end of the day, once they kind of, get past their own initial worry about being sick or being hurt or whatever, they're going to be like, what would mom do? And I think...
You think they'll actually think that?
Oh my gosh. Your daughter definitely will, yeah. Your daughter definitely will. I think your son, he is doing it now.
It's instilled in them somewhere, even if they don't want to admit it?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's, part of parenting, right? But I think another thing to talk about, too, is like, yeah, the ailments or whatever. But, you mentioned before, as empty nesters, there is a little bit of this, oh, what are you going to do now? Like, as if your whole life, everything that you've done has only been centered around your kids. And I think that's something to kind of, break down a little bit, because I feel like...
Yeah, everybody's got a lot going on.
Yeah, we had the episode about girl bossing, and we talked about a lot of stigmas for women in the workforce. But, I mean, I think it's the same thing for motherhood, is like, your kids go away, and some people have really poured themselves into raising their kids, and they have to kind of re-find, their interests and their identity and whatnot. But... how should people be approaching those parents as they kind of navigate the worries of, sending their kids off to the next step and
then also finding new steps for themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, how should we be talking to people who are navigating that as someone who's navigating it right now?
I mean, it's an interesting question. I feel like the other moms that I know at the moment, and dads too, I mean, depending on your family situation, that they don't know necessarily what the next step is going to look like for them. I mean, some parents who are maybe are a little older and their kids have gone off are closer to retirement age, that sort of thing. And so then there's like a lot of changes at once for them. Or there's a big move, or maybe they've lost their job, or, that sort of thing too. And so they have to figure out next steps. Yeah, it's really interesting. It's been an exciting time for me, I think, just because we're starting these sort of new ventures of this podcast. I do a lot of writing. I'm working on my business, things like that make it really exciting. It was pretty funny, though, that when my daughter left, my son called me up and he's like, so do you have like hobbies that you can do? Like he seemed concerned that I would have, he wanted to make sure I would have enough to do. And I'm like, oh, don't worry. Like
I'm okay.
I've got plenty to do.
Yeah.
And I almost feel a little bad about it, because every time he calls, I'm like, hey, can I call you back? I'm actually in a meeting at a thing, like that kind of thing.
Right.
And I feel
unnecessary worry from your kids about what your life is now going to look like. And and I get that, right? You have spent a lot of time on them. As somebody who has also been a part of your life and witnessed it, and
you've spent a lot of time on them.
and the time I've spent on them, yeah, I mean, definitely. I would say probably their parents have spent more time or whatever. Like,
sure.
Yeah. But it's funny how they see that, they notice that, and then it's sort of like, okay, well, we're gone. So now what for you?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, like, what are you going to do? Like, the world's your oyster. And you're like, what? Like, I've already been working on stuff with you here. Like, now that you're gone, I just get to put more time behind that, and like, yay.
Well, I think too, though, kids don't notice when they're living at home. They don't really notice what you're doing, that
true.
much. They're into their own lives. I mean, that's just how, development happens or whatever. But, they know what you do for a living, but they're not really paying attention to like what you're doing on a daily basis, how busy you are. And all, yeah. So, they saw me, I worked from home. I was always home.
Right.
And so they weren't necessarily putting two and two together, that when I was on my computer, I was actually doing something, not like just shopping.
I mean, I can obviously relate to that. Okay. Yeah. I mean,
I was actually working. I was actually putting something together, working, working on projects, working on the business, that sort of thing. But they just saw that I'm at home in the living room on my computer. So I think in their mind, they are like, oh my God, what is mom going to do? Because she was so focused on doing all the stuff for us. I got to say, it may be wrong for me to say this, that now that it's been a couple months, having them both out of the house, I do enjoy a few things. I will note.
Tell us, the listeners what you enjoy.
I really enjoy that when I put something away, it stays put away. Yeah. That when I clean, it stays clean a lot longer. I do love that my kitchen table can now be used to actually sit and eat at that table. Yeah.
Yeah, instead of just collect all the junk and
it used to be a drop
backpacks
zone. Yeah,
yes, it definitely was.
It was a very much a drop zone eyesore, even though notably we have a location in the house to put shoes and backpacks and stuff. That was not ever used for that purpose. I don't know why they thought that was completely superfluous. So the kitchen table always was the spot. So I do appreciate that sort of stuff. I also appreciate our grocery bill. Now that it's just my husband and I in the house, or, eating.
Sure.
We don't eat as many snacks or require the diversity of lunch items that my children seem to require. So that's been a true delight.
Well, I'll say, just from experience watching them, my nephew, if there was any fruit or anything in the house, he would eat the whole container in one sitting on the very first day. And
the $6 or $7 raspberries gone.
What I can say for him is more power to you, because that's
healthy.
when it's the freshest, it's healthy, it tastes the best
what
when you
am I gonna
first
do?
get
Take
it.
Raspberries for my kid? No.
Yeah, no, at least he wasn't eating candy, but at the same time, you're right. He liked the most expensive fruit. I'll be honest. The man knew what he wanted, okay?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, I bet and you can also test out new recipes and stuff. The pickiness has kind of gone a little bit as well. I mean, they're definitely
they are good eaters, but there definitely was the moment. I'm sure that any people with kids out there can totally relate. Is what's for dinner, and whatever you say is met with not that. Not that again.
Not that again.
I don't like that. Those sort of responses.
I don't like these ingredients.
Yeah. Whereas when I make dinner for my husband, or he makes dinner for me, which is also a nice treat, we just sort of switch back and forth. No complaints either from either side of us. We just are really happy that the other, that I'm always happy when he cooks that I didn't have to cook.
Right.
So it doesn't matter what he makes. And then same with him. He's like, everything is good.
Thank you for putting the time behind it.
Yeah, everything is good. So that's been a real treat, I have to say. But that said, of course, I miss my children a lot. And I'm super excited to see them during holiday times and when they come home for visits and stuff. But the adjustment has been real, and it's been real in a lot of ways, positive and negative. I would say mostly positive. I don't feel like I'm worried, yes, but as time goes on, I feel like kind of what we were saying before, they're gaining more of the instincts to be able to take care of themselves. And it's funny, I remember this with you too, because as you guys might remember, Caitlin had to come and live with us starting the beginning of her junior year of high school.
Right.
So then we had to go through the same thing with her. While we were taking care of a baby and a toddler, then it was time for her to go off to college. And we were like, oh my gosh, we were already very worried just because of what you'd been through. And then for you to then leave and be on your own, we were really worried about you in those situations too. And
newsflash, I called her just as much as her children do, if not maybe even a little more.
Yeah. Yeah. So it worked out. I mean, everybody goes through their growth process, and it works out. It's just, can be hard sometimes, but then not so bad sometimes.
Yeah.
I guess that's life in general, though, right? I mean,
you still had a lot on your plate when I left, but definitely,
yeah.
I think everyone kind of goes through that process, especially when you have kids, and kind of figuring out the next steps so that you don't worry as much is really important. But I will say, just from talking to moms of all ages in my life, I don't think the worry ever really goes away for your kids. I mean,
as soon as you get pregnant, you start worrying.
Yeah, the second.
And then after that, one's 21 and one's 18. I hear from people who have, my friends' parents, right? They'll be like, yeah, my son is turning 50, and I worry about him every day, because then you're also worrying about the grandchildren at that point and all of that kind of stuff.
Right.
It never ends.
It doesn't end. And, it's nice to have people care about you and think about you and want the very best for you. So I think, it's not a bad thing to worry about the people in your life, especially your kids.
And word of advice, if you do keep them on Life 360, don't really bring it up a lot, because a little story that I recall from my son's freshman year is talking to some of the parents I had become friends with when he was still in high school, his friends' parents. And one of them was actively sort of watching her daughter across her college campus. And then talking to her like the next day said, "Why were you out walking across campus at 2 a.m.?"
Oh my gosh.
And the daughter was like, "I'm cutting you off."
Yeah. Yeah, you can't do that.
So keep it on the down low and be cool, and maybe they'll keep you on it.
And I feel like I have to defend this because, as a family to all be on it, it's so fun to see where everyone is, especially when we travel. Like, we're avid travelers, as we talked about in our flying episode, and it is so fun to see the floating heads in different countries.
And we had an exchange student from Indonesia, and she stayed on with us.
She wanted to be on the Life 360.
So I can click and watch the globe go around, and I can see where she is, which is kind of fun. And she can see where we are. Yeah.
It's so fun to see where everyone is, to know that everyone's safe and whatever. And that's really what it's become over time. And not mentioning it a lot and not tracking it, not using it poorly, will keep the fun alive for you too. So,
but yeah, so the takeaway is we can all get through these life changes and these challenges and make them as fun as possible. And I don't know, communication is the key, and trying really hard not to worry, and kind of, I don't know. It's working. Yeah. It's just taking a minute.
Yeah, finding time for yourself and your passions also helps with that.
Exactly. All right. Well, we've enjoyed our conversation with you. Let us know if you've had some of these issues with your own kids leaving the nest. We love to hear your stories. But we will see you next time on Worriosity.
All right. Bye.
Cheers.